All right, it's working. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Some Ogie Dude's channel. Today I have two guests with me. I have Jimmy again from Jimmy Nuts. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. And we're also joined by the ever reclusive Amanda. She's like the Thomas Pynchon of YouTube at this point. Booktube at this point.
I will take that. That feels like a compliment.
Yeah, we're here talking about Bas-Lag books, starting with Perdido Street Station today. I have my copy right here, so yay!
I do not have my copies anywhere near me, unfortunately. All right, hold mine up.
I do not have a copy, so.
Well, that's
wait. What?
What
I have not read this book. Just kidding. I'm in the process of moving, so I'm getting rid of like everything I own. And that was one of the physical books that didn't make the cut. But this is probably a pretty good time to be doing this because what is it? Broken Binding? Yeah, I just announced a special edition of Perdido Street Station, and I'm going to be purchasing that.
Oh wow,
Same.
really? I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's actually fairly affordable. I think it's only like $30 or $40 US, which for a special edition of any kind is honestly not that much. So here's the hoping that there's enough to go around. I think there will be. I don't think it's that popular, to be honest.
So, it is signed, and it does have the really pretty, is it the Subterranean Press art? I don't know, but it's the really pretty one.
Yeah, I think it is, but I'm not positive about that. But the fact that it's signed is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I can't imagine approaching China Mieville and asking him for anything.
He's almost as reclusive as I am.
For real.
Almost.
And it's such a capitalistic venture. I feel like he would hate it.
He's just like rage signing them.
Yeah. Just signing it as Karl Marx.
But yeah, we're talking about Perdido Street Station today because, well, originally I was just going to talk about it with Jimmy, but then Jimmy's like, hey, Amanda wanted to talk about it with me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw in a reverse card. I'm going to be like, hey, Amanda, you want to come on here and talk with us? And you were like, yeah. So here we are.
Yeah.
It sounds just like you.
I have been wanting to do some kind of something for these books. I feel like they're very underappreciated. Like Perdido Street Station, yeah, it gets its due, I think, in the circles that we run in. But
I mean, I think it won an award. Won one of
oh yeah, I think they all did. Or
he's critically acclaimed for sure.
Yeah, I think all three were Hugo nominees at the very least. And I think two of them won the Arthur C. Clarke Award. I know Iron Council did, but it feels like nobody's read them. Like, I know people have to have read them, but I don't run into people who read them. So
yeah,
running into someone who's read all three is very rare. I mean, I can maybe on one hand count the people I know who have read even the second book, which is crazy because the second book is tremendous. Like it's better than Perdido in my opinion.
Oh.
I think one of the things that it's almost a hard series to talk about because it's so out there.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's crazy.
The lore runs so deep that I feel intimidated about making videos about it because it's like, where do you start? Like, if you were like, why you should read the Bas-Lag, right? Like, that's a very hard pitch in many ways because you could sell it as just beautifully written. You could sell it as atmospheric. You could sell it as metaphysical. You could sell it the fact that it has some of the best, like, you know, bar none world building that I've ever read. But it also happens to be so much different than anything else in the genre. Like, it's not even, you can't really compare it to anything, I don't think.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't have put it better myself. But after a few months of being like, hey guys, sorry I've been away for like 2 months. We got together for this occasion, so yeah, I'm glad we're here and all. It was kind of, I was afraid we were doomed for a moment because my OBS was like, you know what, I'm gonna update right now before we start this whole thing. So yeah, that was lovely. But yeah, Perdido Street Station. Now I will say, Jimmy, I have to disagree with you a little bit. As much as I enjoyed the Scar, which was a lot, I don't know. There's something about Perdido Street Station that it's like just injected into my veins. I can't find that high anywhere else, you know.
Yeah,
I like the Scar a lot, and You
I
know?
would say, I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye if someone said they liked Perdido more, but for me, I feel like The Scar, and I think Amanda, you felt this way too. It's just a tighter book. Like I think like overall, there's a little less wonkiness to it because Perdido, I think the word I used like 80 times in my review for it was just chaotic because that's what it felt like. The prose felt chaotic and the plot felt chaotic, everything about it. But I just feel like The Scar from cover to cover, I didn't think there was a single moment where I was like, what are we doing here? Ever. It just felt like it was the perfect length too, which is Perdido. I felt was a little long in the middle, and Perdido also did some things not focusing on Lynn. I really wanted more from Lynn.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and yeah, I suppose we'll get into that because, in all honesty, what's interesting about this book is that you could have just had the plot with Yagarick getting his flight back, and I still would have been fascinated by it. I would have been like, man. I would, that would have been an interesting book, but that's not the one we got. I can't speak today.
Yeah, I agree though. I think he wrote Perdido when he was pretty young, and I think it kind of reads like that, like really eager and like earnest, and just like throw everything in there, like new author going on this venture, pretty much creating the new weird genre. And just going full throttle at it and throwing everything he had into it. And I think we've talked about this before, Jimmy, I think, and especially with people in Discord, like it feels like its messiness belongs there. It's chaotic and there's maybe too much of it at times, but it somehow fits the aesthetic of just messy, overwhelming, dirty intensity.
Yeah, I remember in one of our previous conversations, Jimmy, you said I could smell New Crobazon. I'm like, you know what? That's a great way to put it.
I mean, New Crobazon almost feels like the antagonist in the story. Like I felt, and it's weird because it's not a it didn't feel like a 1984 type deal, but like it just felt oppressive. Like the conditions just seemed like they would weigh you down day in and day out.
Oh yeah, I imagine you like, it's so weird about this book. Like it's majestic, and I'm like, man, this is so cool. I want to see more of this world. At the same time, you couldn't even point a gun at me and force me to live in New Crobazon. It sounds nightmarish to live there. Like.
Yeah, it is. You know, I had a comment on one of my videos. I thought this was so interesting. I should have brought it up, but I won't go searching for it now. But it was like a dissertation about why they hated Perdido Street Station. And by the end of it, I was like, I totally understand. Because they were just like, do people really think this book is like beautifully written? Like, who wants to hear about things that are like dripping in oil and grease and like dingy and grimy? Like, this isn't a beautiful book. And I was like, well, I agree. It's not beautiful in like the aesthetic sense, but I think it's beautifully written because it's, you know, it fits. Like it's a good piece of fiction. But they were just talking about like, do people really want this out of their fantasy worlds? Like, this is not what I look for. And it made me like reflect a little bit. And I was like, why do I like this city so much? Because it almost has like that punkish feel to it that I'm not a huge fan of personally. Like I'm not the biggest fan of that aesthetic at all.
I remember you mentioned that in your video on Perdido Street Station. So
yeah, and it is an exception almost to that role. But also, I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to read about like a really grimy underworld, you know, gross place. For some reason, it's kind of appeasing.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of snickering at the Joe Abercrombie fans. I was going like, "Oh, you think that's dark?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm in love with this book. If you didn't know already, like I've bullied people to try and read it. Not all of them liked it. I even did a reading of it on my channel, so that was fun. But yeah, you know, Jimmy, you said earlier that you don't really know how to describe this book. Hell, even this whole series. And you know what? I agree with you because it's like, God, where do we start with Perdido Street Station? Like, what it's about? What's going on?
What is it about?
Honestly, how do you wrap it up? It's described on Penguin Random House as the metropolis of New Crobuzon sprawls at the center of the world. Humans and mutants and arcane races brood in the gloom beneath its chimneys, where the river is sluggish with unnatural effluent and boundaries pound into the night. For 1,000 years, the Parliament and its brutal militias have ruled over a vast economy of workers and artists, spies and soldiers, magicians, crooks, and junkies. Now a stranger has arrived with a pocket full of gold and an impossible demand, and something unthinkable is released.
That's an interesting hook. I have to admit,
it is kind of weirdly framed, right? Because like that makes it sound.
I wonder if Mieville wrote that himself. It kind of sounded like Mieville wrote it, because like it has that like rhythmic feel to it that I found in Perdido.
It is well written. I mean, but the now a stranger has arrived almost makes it feel like that is like the catalyst for these things to start happening, but it's not entirely like that in the book, right?
I think a lot of the government, the New Crobuzon government, there was already like riots and protests from the Runegate Rampant people, and they were already stirring things up. But yeah, when Isaac goes on the hunt for strange flying creatures, and then he gets Motley's caterpillar, I think that's when everything kind of goes to hell for New Crobuzon.
As if New Crobuzon wasn't already hellish. Now we got creepy Dementor xenomorphs running around.
Well, yeah, and you know, rioting and revolution is at the center of Bas-Lag, isn't it? Like the entire thing. I mean, even when we're on the ship, right? Armada, is that what it was called? Yeah, even on that, you know, there's kind of a revolt against the people controlling it. So it's just like at the center of it, all of that stuff seems like it's constantly going on in cycles. And I love Mieville's take on revolutions and how the failed revolutions are like steps to the next thing, or they're symbols, and they stay around. And revolutions sometimes happen at the wrong time, which is something that's never talked about quite enough, I think. And the people who maybe tried to do something against the system prior but didn't succeed, and they're not in the history books, which is crazy. It says the city is gripped by an alien terror. There is something alien about this series.
Yes, definitely. Oh man, like how would I describe this as like a Hollywood pitch? It's like a grittier Charles Dickens with like H.P. Lovecraft thrown in there. And like,
sounds about right.
It's not very as painful Victorian. To read. What did you say?
Not as painful to read as Dickens. That might be a hot take. I don't know.
Oh
no, he got paid by the word. What a hack!
And it shows. There were parts of Perdido Street Station that I thought, man, was this guy paid by the word? There's the famous cable laying scene.
Oh God!
I didn't mind it. I was fine with it. I thought like the glass house section with the cacti. I don't even remember what they were doing there, but that was a low point in the book for me,
if I remember right.
Yeah, but our guys are like going to the glass house for some reason.
Yeah, it's because where the slake moths are.
Yeah, and that dragged. Also, like the handlingers.
Like, yeah, I'll admit that wasn't the best
part. I don't even remember that part.
Nothing. There's like a whole sky fight with like backpacks and handlingers and the mirror glasses and.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Like, what did it mean?
What did it mean?
Wasn't that good?
I
think it just shows the incompetence of the New Crobuzon government, because you know, they're not very responsible over there.
They're just like losing eldritch horror monsters.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I think, you know, the basic duty of a governmental body is to keep people protected from disasters like that.
Yeah, Rudgutter and his bunch aren't doing a great job at it. They should get voted out. Except they really corrupt in New Crobuzon.
I was to say I don't think that's possible. with what's been established. I mean, there is a sense of like hopelessness of being a citizen there that is pretty tangible when you're reading it.
Yeah, also Mieville loves like body horror and like body not this.
I was literally about to bring
like,
this up.
But like he loves like body parts getting like, oh man, like there's one part that's just seared into my memory where a lady got remade, which is this process where they give like ironic punishments to people. Well, apparently she accidentally smothered her baby. So the remade people decided to put the little arms of the baby on her face as a punishment.
You've read Iron Council, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
One book at a time.
Okay. But that lady is Toro.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That blew my mind. Okay, sorry.
Yes, she
Keep
is.
going.
That was
Anyway.
actually one of the better parts of that book, if I remember right.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
So that one's my favorite.
Yeah, we're gonna disagree when we get to the Iron. I'm sure we're gonna have some different perspectives when we get to the Iron Council.
But the remade thing, I remember whenever I think it's Joshua. Is he remaking someone or being remade? But it's the member of the gang who basically won't give up his gang, so they decide to sew his mouth shut or basically get rid of his mouth, and then he's like cut a new hole for his mouth. This is in Perdido, and I remember just being like, "What the fuck?" Like I didn't see that coming at all.
Yagarik's his wings got sawed off, like literally just. You know.
Yeah, but the way he describes it is that basically instead of living on tubes, he sawed his new mouth, right? But you could tell it hurt him, so the incision was jagged and flaccid, is how he described it. And it's like, oh my god! Most people said, "Oh, he cut a hole where the mouth was," and you could see the scars. But the fact that it was like not straight shows how much pain he was in while he was doing it. And it's like little details like that Mieville like hones in on, and just, he torches you with it. So good.
Yeah, Mieville is really good, and I think this is probably my favorite aspect of his writing, is that he makes you feel it, like you're there in New Crobazon. Like it's not just like, oh, look at the little hobbits running around. It's like, it's like, here's this city. Like there you go. Like he one of my favorite parts is when he describes the dreams of everybody once the Slake Moths get released. And I'm like, what the how did he come up with this? What drugs was he on? And I want to know where I can get him. Okay? Cuz
I always do wonder about his inspirations. One of the other criticisms I see about Perdido Street Station specifically is the fact that Mieville actually uses a lot of like in-world slang, like our world slang in Bas-Lag and Perdido Street Station. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there are quite a few of them. And some people say like, yeah. And so some people will point to that and go, ooh, that's bad because, Tolkien didn't use lit AF fam in Lord of the Rings. But for me, I think it's obvious that a lot of this is inspired by our real world. For instance, the Garudas, which is where Yagharik, I always mess up. I don't know how to say it. Big Bird is how I'll refer to it. But Garuda is a Hindu god, I think. I might be getting that incorrect. But, like, he doesn't try to hide those things. So I almost look at the Bas-Lag as, like, what if this is our world, like, in 6,000 years or some madness, or a different reality? A
world where all your mythology creatures are real.
Yes.
Yeah, the Khepri are scarab-headed women in Egyptian mythology.
Yes.
And the Vodyanoi, the water crafter guys, I believe are a Polish
Yeah, I was going to say Slavic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know those.
And then he has, the Hellkin, which shows, the like Christian hell exists in Bas-Lag. And then whatever's going on in that.
Where
I can't. That's like my least favorite part of that book.
What? You like Iron Council, but you don't like the hell scene. You don't like when Red Gutter's like, "Hey, you wanna help us with this?" And they're like, "Hell no, we don't."
And they're all talking, and then like in the spaces between, you hear like the demons, the screams of the demons in the background.
It's so atmospheric, though. Like.
It was like, okay, it was like real Pratchett-y gaming-y for me, and I can't handle either of those authors. So
Oh
I do think
my God.
I think there's a fine line between Bas-Lag and Ankh-Morpork. Alan better not ever watch this video. Ankh-Morpork, whatever that place is called.
You're gonna make me stroke out with this
thin
Neil Gaiman
border.
slander.
I love it.
I've met Neil Gaiman, and he's a lovely gentleman. And I can't stand anything I've read from him.
Amanda's friends with Neil Gaiman. She just doesn't like his work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
But yeah, there's like a whimsical alternate reality, like all the mythology is real and things are tongue in cheek, but still really upsetting.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, is this all just to show how like absurd like humanity is, like with all of our mythologies, and like what if it's all just slammed into a fairly local area, and what does that look like? Maybe.
Even, are you guys city guys?
yes.
Do you live in the city? Do you like the city?
I was thinking
live
like,
in the
was it an
suburbs.
alternate name for like the City Girls, like the twerking rap group?
Sure, Shimmy.
Because if that's the case, count me in. I'm the city guy.
I'm into the city girls. No, but like Perdido Street Station is gross and it's nasty and it's a hellscape. But I've lived in cities. It's not that some of those descriptions could be used in some of the places that I've lived.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
And then
yeah, he was
if you
inspired
have
by
like
London, if I remember right.
yeah, and if you have like a
Just-
plurality of different peoples, like, and it's really diverse to where like there's different languages spoken block to block, and there's different religious institutions everywhere, and mythologies running rampant, and people practicing their weird ways of life, all like crammed in next to each other, and all pissed at the same government. Like it just feels like a bombastic real city.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the city, and maybe that's why I like Perdido Street Station. Like I'm a city girl, and then so Perdido, like yeah, it's claustrophobic and cluttered and dirty, but it's also like cozy. Like the trash is wrapping you in a little hug and keeping you warm when you're sleeping on the streets at night.
and the rat brings you a piece of pizza.
Yeah, yeah. But in Perdido
my
Street
God.
Station, the rats fly and talk.
So ridiculous.
Just natural evolution.
Yeah, no, like there's a lot of just absurd stuff in this that I love. Like I love the like details he gives. Like when Yagarick and Isaac are hanging out, and he's like, "So where'd you come from?" He explains how his people drag a library around, and it just sets your imagination on fire. Just like, how does that work? Like, who are these people? How do they do that?
Did the books fall over when they pull it?
Yes.
Like that's the first thing I thought of. Those poor books.
How
Yeah,
do
and
you
then-
have enough strength to do that? Like, you know.
Well, he drops things like the cacatopic stain, just like,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, this exists. Don't worry about that. But it's like the source of the most insane lore for the world, and
Yeah, and he doesn't go like super in depth. Like he doesn't have it all
No.
flushed out. But I love that.
Because it
Doesn't need to
tickles
be.
the imagination. He's so good at that.
I mean, thinking about what slake moths, like the implications of slake moths existing,
Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous.
And there's one like throwaway line where he's like, "Well, wait a minute. If we struggle to kill them, then who hunts them?" And you're like, so you know,
The
you'll
food
probably have a
chain,
nervous
man.
breakdown thinking about it. It's okay.
You just got to rob the offspring of dream shit, and they can't grow.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Literally, he called it dream shit. It's so funny.
I remember I was on Do Unicorn Reads' live chats about Perdido Street Station, and she talked about like, so how come they defeated the little one so quickly? I'm like, well, it's basically like they're crack babies, so it's probably not, you know, it's probably not it's not as dangerous as the other three.
Yeah, they don't. Basically, they like starve if they don't have dream shit. Too.
but he was
Yeah.
all runty, and he went to save his brothers and sisters. I'm justice for baby slake moth.
Just
saying. Like,
like,
Please eat my consciousness. I beg
I
of
mean,
you.
it's You were brought here for reasons of exploitation. You were freed for reasons of exploitation. It is your natural need to feed on consciousness. But you didn't. It's not like it tried to fly here and eat people. Like someone stole it to use it for nefarious purposes, and then someone else stole it to use it for nefarious purposes, and then it's like, well, I'm hungry. Well, and you're here.
You're zeroing in on something that is recurrent through all 3 books, and that is people being exploitative to other people and using people, whether it be for a good purpose or a bad purpose.
Yeah, I mean, Mieville is a socialist, so they tend to prattle on about that a lot.
Yeah, I think he actually explores it in really interesting ways. Even with Big Bird, like, and him talking to Isaac, like he's trying to exploit him to basically exonerate him of this horrible thing he did, which we had no idea for the whole novel. And then if you go and then you look at who's the main character of Scarf, the female? I can't remember her name.
Bellis.
Thank you, Bellis. Bellis is also trying to get what she wants from people, and then she figures out that the guy that she's with is actually doing his own thing. Like, there's a lot of using.
Bro, she gets used throughout the whole novel.
Oh yeah, her whole point was to be used. She realizes at the end, like, I was a pawn from the beginning.
Yeah, and that is throughout the whole series. And then there's a, I think it's in The Scar, there's a sex scene that.
Oh, the lovers?
The lovers, when they basically talk about using each other. And it's just done in this way that is, like, very touching. And it does make you question, like we use people. Everybody uses somebody.
Everybody uses everything. Don't even get me started on Isaac.
To show Bellis, look at them. They're perverted. They can't lead this nation. Join with me.
I mean, it is something to think about, though. Like, if you use someone, even if it's for a good purpose, like, do you have the right to do that?
Or, like, how hypocritical is everyone because everyone uses it? Like, okay, my favorite example and the thing that always, like, rubs me wrong about Isaac in Perdido is he goes to the freak show to be, there's like, oh, it's a Garuda, let's go see and do some research. And he goes there and he's just, like, disgusted by all the nonsense at the freak show and how these poor creatures are being abused and just
not even a Garuda,
on display.
It's just a guy who's been remade to look like one.
Right. But when Isaac's there, he's, like, so upset at all of the exploitation on display. And then what does he do? He goes and rips apart countless living beings so that he can research flight.
And is that not, man, that's a whole essay paper right there about, you know, people looking down on these things. That's so terrible. And then for their purposes, exploiting people in the same exact way or something adjacent to it. I mean, Mieville makes you honestly see the messiness of the world, but also all the contradictions, and it leaves you with this feeling of being defeated. Like, at least I feel that. And
another example from Perdido is the people that work at Runegate Rampant. They are like a liberation paper, like revolutionaries,
like straight up Marxist at points. Like,
yeah, and they run a slaughterhouse.
Oh yeah, they oh yeah, they use the poor old man at the end of the story. Remember?
Yeah. Do they?
The chaos engine machine.
Yeah, the old man that they, like, steal from the hospital.
That Durkin kidnaps from the hospital.
Yeah.
Also, honestly, I want to reread Perdido like now.
Yagaric, Grimnabelin, Isaac de Grimnabelin, Lynn. I don't even think we get a last name out of it. Unfortunately.
I mean, I think that it all ties into the fact that in Perdido and the Scar and Iron Council, he does have what, and people describe this, is actually like one of the things people describe him with, is anticlimactic endings. Like, he tries to play with your expectation and always either takes it a different way or he lets you down. I mean, the Scar is without a doubt an anticlimactic finish, and I love it. I love the Scar's ending.
I really enjoy the ending of the Scar because.
And Perdido is a rug pull, right? And it honestly ruins a lot of the prior story. And when I say ruins, I mean for the people you were reading for, right? Big Bird is our friend. Big Bird is someone that's on this mission. But he's despicable.
But didn't we know from the beginning, like, the first thing he says, he's like, I've committed a terrible crime.
Yeah, no.
Like, well, we don't know what it is, so it's okay.
It's a fantasy book.
I remember he goes, like, I'll admit, I love Yagurick. He's my favorite character of the book, but the guy's kind of a drama queen. Okay, let's just
he's like, very melodramatic.
Read his monologues, which are some of my favorite bits. Like, you know, like dude's a fucking drama queen. Okay?
You know when China Mieville hits that italics button, it's about to go down.
Yeah, it's over at that point.
It's over.
No, but like what's interesting to me about this book is that, like I said earlier, we could have gotten the story about Isaac and Lynn trying to figure out what the hell they are as a relationship, while Isaac is trying to help Yagurick gain his flight. That would have been an awesome book. I would have read that in a night, in a heartbeat, you know? And it's an interesting story on its own. But then he's like, here's the slake moths, and it kind of goes back to really the theme of this novel, which is like the price of knowledge. And like, what are you willing to do? Because Isaac's kind of this... Oh man, Isaac. How do I describe him? Kind of overbearing. Like he always I remember I was reading it for the first time, and I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, if he calls Yag old boy one more time, I'm going to go into the book and shoot him.
I mean, I don't particularly care for Isaac, actually. And I think
he is kind of annoying.
My main issues that came with the book was the fact that we didn't focus on Lynn more, because I think Lynn is a fabulous character.
Yeah, you love Lynn for some reason. I mean,
well, I just love a lot of the themes around race with her. And whenever she goes to like the harder side of town that's full of all the Kepri, and she's one of the ones that have made it out of this area, and now she's back. Like, all that stuff is extremely relevant. And it's also not just, you know, dealing with racism, but it's also classism, which China Mieville is clearly very passionate about. But I just thought Lynn was such a fantastic character, and part of that's because it defeated my bias. I've never been a big fan of non-human characters. I just have never. The only people who have really done it other than this that I liked was Daniel Abraham. He had dog people in The Dagger and the Coin, and they're the best. Like, they're the best. Oh, they're so good.
Dog people? I gotta
The Dagger and the Coin is fantastic. More people should read it. It's like the Dagger and the Coin series. It's like a 5-book series.
Okay. Yeah,
but I don't usually like non-human characters. In fact, a lot of times if like an animal starts talking, I usually don't watch the show. Like, I'll turn it off. I don't know why. I'm the worst. But like, I found myself after Lynn's introduction, I was enamored with her. And I could actually visualize her, which I never visualize things.
Yeah, no, that always throws me off, Jimmy. Like, how the hell do you read and you can't, like, visualize it? Like, that just baffles me.
I don't know. I live a boring life.
You're a strange man, Jimmy.
Mieville is one of the few authors who have been able to put images in my head, which is why I revere his writing so much. And I always say, you know, his books are a little long in the tooth. Well, at least the Bas-Lag books are. But, like, for me, it works. He's just able to describe it in a way that's great. And I don't know. I don't know. I just like Lynn.
Or Big Bird, as you said.
I do picture Big Bird, 100%. Like, I don't even...
You know what's funny? I couldn't actually picture him until I looked up some fan art, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I kind of went back to it. But,
I'm going to look up fan art right now.
Oh, yeah, there's fan
imagined
art.
Like a 7-foot-tall guy with feathers and a beak.
Yeah, no, but Yagurick's my favorite because he's, I don't know what that says about me, but
yikes.
Yeah, no, it's just like he's this kind of sad, broken man. Not really, I guess not really a man, but
not
like
by the end.
By the end, yeah, he calls himself a man. But he's just a sad, broken person who just wants to fly. Flying was his life, and now he wants it back again. And you're like,
he kind of looks like a bald eagle almost.
Yeah, I know. The fan art makes him look like a bald eagle.
Which makes me feel like, is that an allegory for America?
I don't know. That's interesting because, like,
trying to separate themselves from the past. I don't know.
Like, if I remember, his society is like it's like super individualistic. Like, it's about like, because like that's why the ending for me is so fascinating, which, you know, we'll get into that.
I mean, you are right. I actually have it pulled up right here, so I could read it. The Garuda are a nomadic humanoid birds of prey. Most hail from the desert, where they live in tribes. They are hunters and a fierce sense of individualism. They resemble winged humans with avian heads and feet. Their society is completely communist. so it's not America, with individual possessions seen as reducing the individual's freedoms.
Yeah, it's a weird thing how their society works, and that's kind of how, because basically when Yagarik's like, hey, I did this terrible thing, could you help me get my wings back? And he's all like, this is my shame.
Yeah, it's all choice theft.
Yeah, it's called choice theft. He said, I committed choice theft in the 2nd degree with immense disrespect. And we're like, what the fuck does that mean?
Denying another being right to choose their own fate is how it's described by Mieville.
Well, yes.
It's interesting that they're so individual, but also so communist.
Yeah, I'm trying to reconcile these things.
Yeah, it's weird, because, like, communism's like, hey, let's all get together, and...
Did I read that right? With a fierce sense of... Yeah, they are hunters with a feet. Yeah. They're it's kind
like
of...
the more that we focus on the whole community, like, the more important each individual person is.
Yeah, going back to my point.
Because like it's all for each individual person.
Yeah.
Isaac, kind of a dummy, a little bit. Even as smart as he is, kind of a dummy.
Who, China Mieville?
No. Come on,
wait, what? Oh, totally.
Oh yeah, Isaac's a boob. I mean, he's very arrogant.
I didn't like him from the get-go because Lynn is a vegetarian, and what does she do? But this man comes over and stays in her apartment, gets like bugs stuck to his ass, wakes up, he's like, hey babe, make me some bacon. Get out. Get out.
What a Chad.
Yeah, the vendor downstairs is like, oh, you got that guy over again, because that's the only time you ever get meat. Shame.
How nice of her.
Yeah, no, like, it's interesting, their relationship, because it's kind of like this, it's like a stand-in for, like, mixed race relationships, and I thought that was really interesting, because she's all like, because they do the whole song and dance where she's like, well, why don't you talk about me to your friends, and he's all like, I don't know.
There's a sex scene, I think, when he's like, the way her little antenna
Yeah, no, it's so that's another thing I really like about, like, going back to, he really makes you feel it. Like, he's very visceral with his detail. He's all like,
yes,
you know, it's not only he cut his mouth open, like, he does it in the most painful way possible.
Yeah, his attention to the detail, at least in the most part, I think is good detail. The cable laying could be. I mean, Perdido is the biggest offender when it comes to exposition dumps. I mean, sometimes he's just like, buckle up, because you're gonna get a whole lot of shit right now.
Well, Isaac does it, but it makes sense for his character, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He's just really. I
just remember noticing that he was doing it, though.
Yeah,
like I was this is him doing this.
I won't pretend that Mieville is perfect in this novel. Like, there's the bits when he's explaining to Yagarik, like, here's how we could get you to fly again, and you're like, okay, you could just hand wave some of this stuff.
Mieville was very concerned with how this Birdman was going to get in the air again,
I know. Obviously. And another one of the parts I really enjoy is when he goes to speak to the other Garuda, and they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Get out of here.
They, like, gang up on him.
Yeah.
Top of the roof. Yeah.
No, I will say, I do like how Isaac, like, grows some balls in, like, the second act, and, like, just fucking, like, okay, I guess this is, you know, I guess this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, you have that scene where the riot police show up at his laboratory and kill his partner, I think, after his other partner, it's all
snitched on him.
Yeah, it's kind of fuzzy in my memory at this point, but I know there was a big fight, and Slake moths are loose, and they're on the run, and we get the Weaver helping him out. We get some, like, sewer business.
I forgot all about it.
Yeah, best character.
One of my favorite characters in the story. He's just so... Oh, man. Jimmy, what did you think of the Weaver? I'm sure you have some thoughts, because you're...
Oh, I mean, it's one of the coolest things in fantasy.
Oh, my God,
it's not just the coolest thing in the Bas-Lag. I mean, it's literally one of the best things ever, because it trumps slake moths. Like, to one-up slake moths is a tall task, and the Weaver is up for it. I only wish there was more Weaver in the Scar. There's no Weaver in the Scar, but we get an Iron Council. Which,
I was about to say, he does show up, like, or I don't know if it's the same Weaver, but there is a Weaver in Iron Council for, like, a page.
Yeah, it's definitely in relation. I think I might be wrong.
No, another. I'm thinking of all my favorite scenes now. I also love when he goes to he's like, look, that whole bit with the government people basically scrambling to fix their mess, and they go to the Weaver, and he's like, oh, did you bring me some scissors today? And he's like,
So weird.
It's great. I love it. It's like, what the fuck? And he's like, nice. And then he disappears, and I like how he just goes, I'll take that as he agrees. This is great.
And that's the thing, like, it is kind of comedic at times. Like, there are things that are pretty funny about this series, but you would never really suspect that that's going to happen. I also think that this is a good point to kind of relate this back to, we were told Big Bird is a criminal at the beginning. and you brought that up, Amanda. But I think one of the reasons why we're able to kind of forgive it is because we see all these people, like following Isaac and whatnot, that are breaking the rules and committing crimes, but we're in support of it. So we just assume through.
Also, we see Yaguric's perspective, so that probably helps.
Well, yeah, of course, it's going to be biased, but I think we begin on the side of like, oh, this is okay because the crimes that people are doing are all for the good, at least for our characters. Yeah. So I think that might have been intentional, but maybe
that makes sense.
Wasn't.
Like you can see the new Corbizon governing bodies are terribly corrupt. So yeah.
Wow, really?
are doing crimes under that kind of regime. Like, is that really a crime? If the morality is so corrupted.
Well, once they give the Slake Moths to a sociopathic crime lord, I think that's like, yeah, they're evil.
Oh, they're without a doubt, they're the bad guys in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're doing crimes and we see the revolutionaries as the ones being illegal, it makes sense that we would think like, oh, another criminal. He can't be that
he's one of us, and it turns out he certainly is not one of us.
Yeah.
So I think that might have been intentional. Maybe.
Yeah, and it could be like, if you have like just a faceless name and you hear criminal, it might be a little different. But if you have like someone in front of you who's talking to you and they seem like a reasonable person and you hear they're a criminal, you're probably just more biased to think like, oh, well, I can see you right now and you're not murdering people. So
and then you learn he's the serial killer and you're like, oh, you're a monster, but you were so funny.
And then you're like, I never would have thought of that guy. Like, why? You knew him for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Just like a weird and evolutionary instinct we have to benefit of the doubt other humans.
I remember I was talking to a friend of mine about Perdido Street Station. He's like, man, think about like all this over someone getting greedy for drugs. What do you think about that?
Fairly realistic. I mean,
yeah, I definitely,
like if the government doesn't get you, the drugs will. I mean, it's like it seems like one way or another you're going to end up screwed here. Like,
what do you think of Lucky Gazid or Gazid?
I don't remember Lucky.
He's the junkie guy who like just annoys everybody.
Is he the one that like slips a bunch of extra dream shit into Isaac's
he's
sandwich?
He's the one who roofies Isaac with the dream shit.
I don't remember this.
You don't remember that? When he gets like when he starts hallucinating on the dream shit? He's like, and he wakes up, he's like, I'm gonna kill him.
I don't remember that.
Oh my god.
It has been like a year since I've read it.
That's fair. So. That's fair.
I don't recall that though.
I don't remember much about that character other than I think isn't he one that gets killed in when the
Motley and them kill him, and then Motley sends him a letter like, hey, I know it's you who's been screwing with my business. I kidnapped your girlfriend. He pulls the I kidnapped your girlfriend stunt.
That's right. Yeah. He's the one that's like trying to ransom Lynn.
Pretty much, yeah. He's like disgusting, like I can't even imagine what Mr. Motley looks like, but he's basically like this just humanoid abomination. This eldritch abomination, pretty much.
Making Lynn sculpt him.
Yeah, and she's like, hey, can you sculpt me? And she's like, okay.
Might take a while.
And one of my things about Lynn is like, I don't know if this is just like, it's interesting because it makes sense for her character, but like she makes a couple of really bad choices in this novel. Like Not just like bad, like you can come back from, like astoundingly bad. Like she goes to Motley and you're like, and then he goes like, I heard your boyfriend was stealing my stuff. What, you know, you're like, hey, could you do a sculpt of me? And she's like, yeah, sure. Bitch, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen? Like,
why not?
You know.
Again, it's just a guy in front of you. He seems like he's a decent dude. You know, he just wants to get his portrait done.
Yeah,
what's the harm? I didn't know I was gonna get kidnapped and unleash consciousness,
and then
sucking butterflies.
And then when Isaac goes, "Don't look at it. Don't. I'm not fucking around." She turns around and looks at it and gets basically lobotomized. I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. You've done it twice in a row
don't like to be told what to do.
Is that like some Lot's wife pillar assault things going on there?
I guess to add some more structure to this, we'll go one at a time here. What was you guys' favorite parts of this book? Jimmy, I'll let you go first because, you know.
Perdido?
Yeah, Perdido.
Oh, without a doubt, the ending. I mean, the ending makes the entire book a different book.
That's interesting.
This book isn't 5 stars without that ending. Because like there are those little middle parts and some stuff that I was like, I don't know about this. Like you can kind of see it's a little rough around the edges. But then when he lands the ending and the big rug pull, you're like, oh. And then a lot of things start coming back, you know, to you that you should have maybe seen through, or you look at it in a different light. And to me, that's the best kind of ending. I don't need all the fireworks and stuff. So, but something to change my perspective in,
well,
you know,
hold that thought until we get to the ending, because because I have a lot of thoughts on the ending. Amanda, how about you? What were some of your favorite parts of Perdido?
I just love the slake moths. I love the concept of like. I think Mieville's so inspired by Lovecraft, and a lot of that is the bigger horror is like what you can't see.
Yeah.
And something about having to like face these things walking backwards with like a mirror helmet on, and then just like the how much I felt bad for this little caterpillar that Isaac wasn't feeding it. It's like it's sad. Like it's in his cage and it's like it's looking at Isaac and he's putting emotions on it.
Amanda.
Hey, we already went over this, but. I just love the slake moths. I love the whole concept and having to like hunt them down and feeling like I was on their side.
Oh, yeah, you're bringing all this stuff back. I love how when he gets to mercenaries and they just completely botch trying to kill the slake moths. Like I love that part.
And there's one, they're in like the sewer and they kill it with like a tube and they're like blasting consciousness at it.
Yeah.
Just like chasing it around.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
It's so funny. I just read The City in the City, and I was like, man, that was a trippy book. It's very metaphysical. And I was like, I think it's maybe more metaphysical than Bas-Lag. Never mind. Never mind. What was I thinking? Of course it wasn't. It was very tame compared to this shit.
No, I love the climax. When they get the crisis engine. I fucking love that. It's so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how he amps the tension, and you're like, oh shit, you know, and Yagura gets his fucking whip, and he pulls it out, and he's like, yeah, you know, and it's great. It's great.
Jack half a prayer
and
comes and saves everybody.
And they're like blowing stuff up. It's great. It's great. I love it. And then Jack half a prayer shows up. You're like, what the fuck? How did he know what was going on?
Meanwhile, all the maid robots are conscious.
Oh yeah, that's right. And that. I do love the part when he meets the Construct Council and he another goes back that visceral, he describes how they plugged in to a corpse and you're just like,
It's pretty cool.
It's creepy as hell too.
Yeah, it's horror, sci-fi, and fantasy all in one house.
I know,
and
it's weird.
Beautiful.
Another one of my favorite bits. Again, I love the Weaver. He's just so bizarre. You're just like, what? And then for some reason he's like, you know what? I like Isaac. I'm gonna rescue them. Fuck you guys. and then I also like when I also love the ending like Jimmy does. So yeah. And what else? There's a lot of stuff I like in this novel. I love
how much I remember.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
It's been like a year. It sticks in your brain.
I love the adventurousness of this novel, as I like to say. I like how it makes you want to see the city, even though it's a horrifying place to live in. You're like, I want to.
Well, you never know what's going to be there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like it really does feel like anything is possible.
Exactly,
but not in like the fairy tale way, you know, where it's like anything is possible. It's like, oh god, anything's possible.
There's like people
like endless
flying.
possibilities are actually horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also like the bits with oh man, yeah, I like the bits with the government because it's just like, ooh, look how it like Mieville isn't afraid to like show how evil they are, but he kind of he has fun with it at the same time. They're basically like the exasperated politicians you would find on like Into the Loop, or if you've ever seen that movie, or Veep. They're like, they're trying to do damage control basically, and like, yeah, damn it, how are we gonna deal with this?
Yeah, they're flying by the seat of their pants for a lot of this.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, these are terrible people, but this is kind of entertaining, and Mieville's just having a fun time with it.
Maybe possibly making a mockery.
Probably,
maybe.
Yes.
Getting out some frustrations, maybe.
Yeah, Rudgutter is the I Spy killer, and then the Construct Council. That's yeah. Least favorite part? The fucking pipe. Oh my god, the pipe. I was like, man, I love this book, but that pipe scene, it's agony. Let me tell you, it is agony. Reading through that, you're just like, you should have just put this in like a paragraph. Like, you don't need a whole chapter about it.
He could have just used a good old footnote, you know? Just,
yeah. It was frustrating.
Just one footnote in the book. That's it.
I hate it. I hate it.
Haters.
You like the pipe scene?
I didn't mind it.
You don't mind
It's
it?
fine.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It wasn't my favorite part. It's better than the weird hell visit.
You shut your mouth about the hell visit. Hell visit's one of the best parts of the book.
I feel like I need to reread the hell part so I have a stronger opinion one way or the other. Because it's just a faint memory to me.
I don't get it. But, let's see. There's some other. I like the bordello part where.
Oh, yeah.
Now again, I don't know what that says about me, but again, the
the remaker brothel.
Yeah, where it's horrifying though. Like, I'm not saying like, ooh, yeah, it's like, what the this is fucked up, you know?
Yeah, we get you. Jimmy and I love the second apocalypse. We're not going to judge you for liking your remaker brothel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this book is so dark. Like, it doesn't really get labeled grim.
Like sneaky dark because it's so absurd and weird and, like you said, funny, but like side eye.
Yeah, it's extremely well done. Maybe this is the way that more grim stuff should be done. But Mieville is just uber talented. It's not fair to compare people to him, I don't think.
Yeah, he's on like another. Like,
yeah, he's a once in a generation guy. Like, I really think so. I just wish people enjoyed it more. Like, I wish more people enjoyed it.
Like Bas-Lag, like Perdido Street Station is or at least I thought it was enjoyable, you know, or not really. Like, it's dark and messed up and disturbing, but like, it's fun to see this city, you know. I want to see more of it.
It's pleasant to read. His words just sound like so rhythmic and good and like on purpose. Like, you know, sometimes writing just feels like they just wrote it. And it's just the story. Here you go. But every word with Mieville is like chosen with such precision and purpose, and he's just a master.
Yeah, he's one of the best when it comes to diction, I think.
I had to use the dictionary a couple times because as a big word enthusiast, there were some words even I didn't know. I was like, what
wait till you read Kraken.
I did read. I read like a part of Kraken, and then I put it down, and I'm like, all right, I'll come back to it later. And then I read
that book's old.
I've heard it's wild.
Yeah.
It's there's a tattoo that's alive in that book. It's
there sure is.
Interesting.
That's all I'll say about that. Oh man. But Perdido Street Station is man, like it's about as like non-Tolkien as you can get. with a story.
Oh yeah, it's in complete opposition, but I think built just as an interesting world.
Oh God, yes. Like I haven't even talked about the world building in this. The world building in this, magnificent. Might be some of the best world building I've seen. I'm like, where you at, George R. R. Martin? Or sorry, Jimmy, but like where are you at, George R. R. Martin?
Well, no, I mean, I think Bas-Lag is like with Middle Earth and Westeros.
Oh, I agree.
And all those things. Like I think it's in the S tier. Like it's not even a question really. And he just did it in such a different way and focused on such different things. Like I said, there's nothing to really even compare it to.
I know. Maybe Lovecraft.
Yeah, I mean there's influences from a lot of different things. But there's not like this is this type of deal, or this is the exact lineage of this thing, which is much easier to do with something like a Westeros. Or a Wheel of Time. It's very obvious to say, well, a lot of this is taken from Tolkien. China Mieville is just like its own like soup of weirdness.
I bet Joe Abercrombie, I don't know if Joe Abercrombie's read this, but I bet if he did, he would just be like, damn it. Forget my silly books. Like I do love First Law though. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
You don't like the First Law, Amanda?
I haven't read it.
Oh. What's that then? You're just like
I've just heard all of these hot takes, so for me it's just enjoyment, and everyone else is like, wait, what? I'm like, get him, Amanda, get him.
No, but yeah, Mieville's on another plane of that angry bald man with tattooed bald man.
He's so cool.
I'm wondering when he's putting out another novel, though. He's put out some like political stuff, but
2025.
What?
Excuse me. Bas-Lag?
Manifest.
Oh, okay. I was
Manifest. What the hell is that?
Yeah,
she's speaking it into existence. No, there's like a random Amazon page that has a China Mieville like 2025 release that says contemporary fiction. So
I will lose my mind.
I'm just hoping.
I remember him saying in an interview, I can't see myself like writing about like tea parties or just regular stuff, but it would surprise me. So we'll see.
Yeah.
As he said, he'd like to write in every genre at some point. I remember him saying that somewhere.
I want to read a romance by him.
I mean,
how that would go.
The Scar kind of was a romance, right?
And Perdido has a romance in it.
The lover is iconic.
I mean, there's romantic elements, I guess I should say. It's not just a straight up romance, but
true.
Certainly elements. A lot of it ends in disappointment.
Perdido has a romance.
Yes.
Isaac and Lynn?
Yes.
Is it a romance if they start the book already together and then they end the book with her like completely mentally incapacitated?
God, I hate that.
I guess.
I know. I saw some people going like, "What the hell? You just fridged her? What the fuck?" Yeah. And again, I don't want to. Is there anything else to talk about before the ending?
No, I don't think so.
Anything?
I mean, there's plenty to talk about, but
okay, because I really wanted to hear you guys' like spicy topics. Or that's a terrible that's a terrible way to say that. I wanted to hear you guys' take on the ending, because I agree with you, Jimmy. I think the ending is what makes the book like,
yeah,
why am I doing that? This is a horrifying ending.
Yeah, it took it from a 4-star book to a 5-star book for me. And then like one of those ones where you're like, can't wait to reread this. Like, cannot wait.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think the ending of this is just like, it's not like satisfying. I don't know. Well, it is satisfying, but it's not like what you would expect, because it's just
gives you so much to think about in the span of like 2 pages. Yeah. Like so much to think about. Like how do we feel about crime when we know the person who committed it? How would like a legal system where choice theft is the only crime work? Like how can you apply every other crime to choice theft? Like how do you decide, like, is it our puritanical values that make this type of choice theft worse than another kind, where we would see like, oh, it's rape, it's horrible, obviously. but what is it about our society that says that this is so like terribly bad versus anything else? I'm not
like
saying
how much punishment
one way or another,
is too
but
much, you know, like when
or what makes one crime worse than an arbitrary other crime?
or
like,
you know, like can someone who's done something like what Yagarick does, is that can he be redeemed for what he did?
Mm-hmm. Or to what extent do we forgive and or show mercy and or help get a quality of life, like where not just punishment, but how much do you help them like reintegrate? If you were part of a society that was not good, do we help you rehabilitate to go back to that society? Do we try to assimilate you into ours, even though you're a criminal? Like there's so many just like endless questions that came up with that ending. Just genius.
Yeah, I mean, so to just kind of drop the bomb, it turns out Yagarick, our birded friend, it turns out and this is actually my kind of big question that I have. Basically, another Garuda shows up and is basically like, hey, I was the one who got victimized. And he's like, oh, what happened? And she's like, well, you dumb humans would call it rape. And Isaac's like, pardon me? And then she's like, later, and then she leaves. And then he's like, well, what am I going to do now? And then he just basically goes, fuck this guy, and he leaves. And that's the book.
And she makes it a big point to be like, this is what you would call it, but keep in mind it bears almost no resemblance in our culture to what that means for your culture. Like
Exactly.
they're completely different, but it's the closest thing that you have.
So, my question is, the one that's been going through my mind ever since I read this book. Did Yagarick actually commit rape? Or did he just do something that's akin to the act?
What's the difference? If something is that or is just like that, I don't really see a difference. So I say yes, he did.
Yeah, I think I'm with Amanda. I think yeah, he did.
Like if it looks like duck, it spells like duck, it quacks like duck.
It's probably right.
Might be a duck. Yeah, that's probably right. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I'm terrible. I apologize. This book fed my sick, twisted imagination.
Probably choice theft.
No,
Probably.
but like I was reading like the TV tropes and page of Perdido Street Station. And you're like, yeah, Isaac apparently wasn't worldly enough to figure out what choice theft was. What the fuck was he supposed to do? Like that's my thing. Like what? How was he supposed to know what it was?
Because they call it choice theft early in the book, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh, okay.
I don't know what the fuck that is, but okay.
I don't know. I would like to know how many people, upon reading this book for the first time, read choice theft and then made the leap to get.
Well, yeah, and maybe that's part of what he's getting at is like we just gloss over choice theft, like meh, big deal.
Yeah.
But like maybe it's the biggest deal.
Yeah. Even if you don't go straight to rape.
Exactly.
And
it's
like
still
the theft of choice is
with
a problem.
disrespect.
I mean, I've read analysis of this, and I've read a couple of interesting takes, and I've talked with people who've also read Perdido Street Station, and Jared, if he watches this, made a really good point to me, and he's like, well, I don't know if it necessarily matters, because ultimately, or maybe it wasn't Jared who said it, it was someone who said it. It was like, because rape in of itself isn't about sex. It's about having power over somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately what makes it so insidious. And you think about it, and you're like, well, I mean, I guess every crime under the sun could be described as crime theft. Or that's something Raph said. Raph Bluetext said. Yeah,
well, yeah, and choice theft is also, I mean, the freedom of choice is very non-existent in New Corpuzon, right?
Sure, yeah.
They don't really get to choose their leaders. It's corrupt. Like, so I think it is kind of a reoccurring theme as well. And maybe that it's him trying to nudge us in the direction of, you know, having your choices stripped from you, whether you realize it or not. It's not a good thing. And we can even take this down to like, you know, a very stupid level of like, for instance, if you want a cell phone, you're getting an Android or an app. Like choices are being restricted from us constantly, or who you can go through your internet provider, or of course I'm making this more like about
or
consumerism, but
you have the flip side too, where they give you so many choices that you feel like you have a choice, but you don't. Like America, land of the freedom to choose between 70 of the same shampoos, and they're all owned by the same company, but it looks like you have choice.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. And also, I talked with Raph, and he's like, doesn't he basically just say that he did it in his final, like, monologue? Whatever he did, whatever that you want to call that. And I'm like, I don't know. It's interesting, you know. Because it's like, it's because that cultural difference, you know. That's why it kind of threw me. I'm like, so wait a minute, is it like he actually, like, you know, did it, or was it something akin to that? And if that's the case, what did he do?
Yeah, I don't think we're meant to like know exactly what it is, but
unless I'm overthinking,
if it's related to that kind of abuse, I think it's pretty cut and dry, right? Like it wouldn't matter if it was a degree off; it would still be abhorrent, right?
And I think that like caveat of like the choice theft second degree, like with disrespect, kind of like it's easy to glaze over when you're in the middle of getting so much new Carbazon information dumped on you in the beginning, but like, what else could it be? When you get to that point, when you add that disrespect on top of the choice theft, like if you choice theft, I stole your sweater, and that's choice theft because you no longer have the choice to wear that sweater or not. There's no disrespect to like your person there. Or like, I stole your money, so now, you don't have the choice to spend it. But so with disrespect.
So like if he stole my money and then beat my ass, that's basically choice theft with extreme disrespect.
Sure.
So it's like if Jimmy walked up to me after his Taekwondo classes.
I don't take Taekwondo.
Oh, sorry. His
Jesus Christ.
His jiu-jitsu class.
Big fan.
And like beats me up and steals my money. That's basically choice theft with extreme disrespect. I'm so sorry, Jimmy. He's like this fucking moron.
I'm gonna need a copy of the Garuda legal code.
I know, yeah. I do.
To properly diagnose what's going on here.
I just think China Mieville should have made his magic system a lot more harder and with defined rules. Damn it! He's so much better.
I just want to know which metal I have to swallow to kill a slake moth.
No, but I guess I think that because it's just like now I kind of want to know what he did. You know, if it's I think he just raped another Garuda.
Yeah, I think you can just leave it up to that and be like, you know.
I think that's what he did.
Maybe I'm just overthinking it. So yeah.
I think you're trying to absolve your boy. I think you love Big Bird.
No.
Yeah. That's what we do. We know someone and we try to make excuses for their bad behavior. And
choice theft apologist.
Hold on.
He's got like a bunch of wings just offside of the camera. That
yeah.
He has a helmet he puts on. It's just a bald eagle.
Damn, I should have got that. But no, I don't know if it's that. It's just like I want to know what.
I'm telling you, he raped another Garuda.
And Britain, I hate
with his Garuda parts.
You're never gonna know. Because China Mieville's never gonna write another Bas-Lag novel.
That's never
gonna tell you.
I would love to talk to China Mieville and just like get his thought process on it because like that would just be fascinating.
Horrified.
I do not want to talk to China Mieville.
I would be horrified.
I'm way too dumb to talk to China Mieville.
I would just stutter my way through sentences, and he'd be like, "This guy's a complete idiot."
Yeah, be like, "I like your books,"
but also it's like it's like the ending is just like you just got punched in the nuts, and have you ever seen Jackass? It's like that scene where he makes him eat the piss snow. And then he kicks him in the nuts for good met. Like that's the ending of Perdido Street Station. Like that's what it feels like. He's like, you just drank some piss, and then you get kicked in the nuts after drinking the piss.
I love this book.
Very Mieville of you.
It's what it is. It's like, man, this is just more sucking. I feel terrible now.
It's good that it makes you feel so strongly.
But Jimmy, you said it made you but on the cereal. Jimmy, you said it like redefined things about the book. Like, what did you mean by that?
Well, you spent the whole book cheering for Big Bird. At least I did.
Stop freaking calling him. God,
Bro, it's Big Bird. I don't care what anyone says. Like, literally that gif of Big Bird kicking in the door. Like, that's how I imagine he met Isaac. Like, that's the scene in my head.
It's the scene.
It's just how my brain works.
And then you hear, God spit, you're an impressive fucker.
what a line.
Yeah.
Jabber.
Put that on my tombstone.
Jabber, shit, and spit. You know? Yeah. Love it.
It's great.
But yeah, I mean, this whole character you thought was on our side and doing good things, and we got to help him out. And, you know, lo and behold, we've been helping out a choice thief. And it's hard to stomach, I think. I mean, I felt dirty after it. And
I did too.
It's not, I don't want to, do I want to bring up current recent events? Because it kind of feels a little...
Yeah, I
mean,
you never know who people are.
Book, feel free.
Well, no, just the fact that, you know, there's people out there that we associate with and that, you know, you are friendly with.
Oh, yeah.
And you have no idea they've done something monstrous.
You mean
and in
recent events are you talking
Yeah,
about?
you feel like the biggest fool in the world.
Like, why didn't I see it? Or I should have known.
It really does make you, like, not want to interact with people. I mean, that's like... If for Isaac being who Isaac is in the book, I did feel for him in those moments. Like, he didn't know, you know.
He felt betrayed.
Yeah. He thought he had made a friend almost, you know. He's going to help this guy out. And it's messy. It's very messy. And that's the thing.
Even him at the end, like, he doesn't really make a choice. He just kind of runs from it. He just, like, his choice is he doesn't make one about, like, what to do. He just abandons Yog, and he's like, all right, I'm out of here. While
that's a choice.
Yeah, I think that's a choice.
While Lynn is lobotomized, basically.
Yeah. Lynn got.
I bet that hurt Jimmy. I'm sorry.
It did. I mean, I wasn't a massive fan of it. I especially because I felt like I got robbed of time that could have been spent with her, like in the book, and that didn't sit super well with me, to be honest. I understand that's partially reader bias because it was a character I really liked, which does not mean that the author has to appease me. But yeah, she got the short end of the stick, man.
I agree, and I feel like I like the character of Durkin, but I feel like maybe that could have just been Lynn.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, I find it interesting about Durkin how she becomes like more jaded and like ruthless as the book goes along.
Yeah, she has her transformation and stuff, but I think Lynn could have been that role.
At least to have more time with her and get more acquainted. You could still have her tragic ending. I think like her ending is awesome.
I'm curious how that would go with the kidnapping scene. She just signs at the guy and he's like, "What?" You know, they don't fucking know. It's like, what are you doing here? He just shoots him.
It would take some reworking, but and I like Durkin's character, but at times I was questioning, like, I think I would rather just be reading about Lynn in this situation.
Yeah, just the way he sets up the story and all of her like situations, like I said, of dealing with being Khepri. I don't know. I was really invested in that. And he doesn't have to write about it, but I wish he would have.
There's a lot that I wish he would come back and write more about.
Also, I can see why Isaac just left. He's like, yo, we have this lobotomized, like, Lynn here. I don't want Yagaric being by her alone, you know?
Yeah, you would never want to trust someone like that, right? And he probably would have if he didn't have that information, which is horrifying.
Yeah, no, it's like when you, you know, it's like recently, you know, a certain thing happened, and you know, it's interesting because it makes you think about, like, you know, did Yagaric redeem himself? Like, did he, you know, I don't know.
Yagaric spent, I like Yagaric, but he spent the entire book crying about his wings. I don't think he did a single thing to redeem himself.
Like I mentioned, Yagarick is a drama queen. All right,
Yeah.
I accept this.
I guess he helped with the Slake moths, but he kind of caused the Slake moths. So
Well, semantics. That was
scientist
Isaac's
man,
fault.
here, take millions of dollars and investigate every flying thing to get me my wings back. Oh no, the consequences of my actions.
The butterfly effect, or the Garuda effect, if you will. If you will.
Shit. End stream.
No,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But yeah, no, the ending is just like, again, it's like you just got punched in the nuts, you know.
You know what I really like?
What?
I like Tifa too. The little flying
Oh yeah, like Gollum. Yeah.
gargoyle.
I forgot about that.
He's like has a breakdown. He's like, yeah, it did things to me. You know.
I thought I had art of that saved on my computer. I'd have to find. I have thousands of things from fantasy books saved on my computer, but I remember seeing a picture of that and being like, "That is really cool."
It's just like a weird, like cherubic gargoyle flying around, like scooping birds out of the sky and bringing them to Isaac.
Yeah,
Listen.
I like how Yagarick uses his whip while looking away and just gets Lynn out of there.
I think when people ask me like, what would you like to see adapted for television? I think Perdido Street Station would be a phenomenal limited series.
Oh yeah.
Give HBO a big budget for it and let them. I mean, obviously they're gonna change some things, I'm sure, but like just in general.
Actually, I'd go a step further. I'd animate it.
Yeah, I think animation would be fine, but I think you could do this live action. I really do, especially after seeing One Piece live action and what they were able to do. I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing something like this. And if you really want to talk about a show that I think could be like critically successful, I think it would be this one, because a lot of these themes are extremely relevant right now. And New Crobazon can fit many a mold for maybe allegorical purposes. So I don't know. I think people would connect with it, or maybe I'm way wrong because I can't get anyone to read the damn books anyways. So I don't know.
It's intimidating. That book is fat and weird.
Yeah. And I got the feathered edges. I hate those things. Oh my god.
Oh, you mean the little page?
Yeah, I have
here?
that copy. Actually,
Yeah.
I think I donated that copy, and now I have the UK versions with like the solid spines.
I love it. It's just.
I hate feathered edges. Oh, I hate it.
Well, nice new edition, December 29th.
Ooh, can't wait.
Yeah, I'll have to, so this came out just in time. Actually, this is great.
It really did.
I think we were supposed to talk about like 2 other entire books.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're supposed to do that whenever that's gonna happen.
We might need to reconvene.
But,
yeah, we might have to do it because I mean I think the Scar is even better.
And I think Iron Council's even better.
And then Iron Council, honestly, I just need somebody to talk to me about it because I don't know if I understood 60% of the book.
Oh,
gotcha.
Yeah, we'll eventually get to that. But
we didn't even talk about the mosquito ladies.
Oh, do you have any like final thoughts about like the ending of Perdido Street Station before we wrap this up? Just
the ending of it? No, not really. A book as a whole, phenomenal. It's probably, I would say it's probably in my top 5 books that I would like to reread.
Oh yeah,
like,
definitely want
I feel
to
like
reread
it's
this at some point. Maybe we could do a buddy read, Jimmy. I don't know.
No commitments 2024, sorry.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
my goal
sorry,
in
I forgot
2024.
about that.
No commitments.
Oh yeah, that just left my mind. I apologize.
Really?
I'm not doing any commitments in 2024.
Better read Terra Ignota.
Well, that
Okay.
I would like to. I'll mood read it. I mean, listen, I can't avoid all commitments. I can't avoid them all. But I have a list in my head. My goal is to not speak it. Because when I speak it, I feel this unnecessary pressure where I'm like, I have to read this thing. Like I said, I was going to read a Michael W. Gear book this year, and I haven't read it, and it's literally upsetting me. And I'm like, no one cares that I didn't read this book. You guys have never even heard of W. Michael Gear.
Oh man,
is that like a Taekwondo guy?
You know what the bitch of this is? You know what the bitch of this is? This chat. I feel we've talked about it we've talked about all the stuff we like. I still feel like I haven't scratched the surface of this damn thing. It's. Oh.
I mean, yeah, this is one of those series. I mean, you could make multiple videos just on Perdido Street Station and the world building alone. I mean, like those really cool, 15, 20-minute beautiful edited videos that people like Quinn's Ideas does. Like you could do that for Bas-Lag. It deserves it.
We didn't even talk about how the Khepri males are just beetles, just walking around in Khepri town, like... getting stepped on by the women.
Yeah, the whole
decay. We didn't talk about the bond,
Like there's so much here. And then I think how do you say it? Cacotopic
stain.
Yeah, I can't say that word. So the stain, is that in Perdido? Is mentioned?
It's mentioned. It's where the slave moths come from.
That's right. Okay,
because I remember, it's that super weird place where everything's topsy turvy and physics don't work and creepy stuff
near it. Right? There's like a tribe of Garudas that live near it. I mean, the stain itself is just like
so cool. That's why Iron Council is my favorite. So we got so much cacotopic stain.
Amanda, I'm sure we're gonna have some interesting discussions because Iron Council is actually my least favorite of the Bas-Lag books.
I figured nobody likes Iron Council. It was my book. It was my book of the year until last month.
It was your boy. It was a good boy.
It was my BOTY.
But I love Perdido and the Scar though. Like
I would say I loved Iron Council as much as Perdido. And then for me, the Scar is above that. Like the Scar is just like, I mean, I have to pick a book of the year in like 2 weeks, and the Scar is certainly in the conversation. Like, I did not regret a second of reading that book. Like I was so in.
Iron Council would be my number 2, but Iron Council is my number 2.
It's awesome.
Iron Council, Scar, Perdido for me.
Yeah, mine is chronological order, so Perdido, Scar, Iron Council.
So we all have different orders. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and I guess one thing I would like to say, if someone's like, I've read Perdido and you're watching this, you should read the other books. they're really worth.
Please do. They're interesting.
And even if you don't like, if you like Perdido more, like there's stuff to talk about in the books. Like they're really, really fascinating just to even think about. And then also, I know I've had people say that, like, I've heard people tell other people they can start with the Scar, and I'm like, do not do that.
Yeah, like I've heard that as well. I'm not.
I don't like that at all because they don't explain the remade in the Scar. They're there, but they don't explain it. And then there's just like little things without the expansion on them. Like Perdido actually does have the tallest task in a lot of ways of getting this stuff established. And that's why some of it does, for me, come across a little bit clunky at times. But like it's a necessary evil to craft the world he did. And without that, I don't know if I would have liked the Scar nearly as much.
I agree.
And you're constantly hearing about getting back to New Crobazon. And if you don't know what that is, and you haven't lived there, then you know, like...
I mean, I should bring this up when we do the Scar, but, like, I missed New Crobazon. I was like, I missed it when we got to the Scar. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
In Iron Council, every time we got back to New Crobazon, I was like...
Yes. Yeah. 100%. That was actually the thing that, like, got me on the right track with Iron Council. It was like, oh, we are going back. Sick. I was a little bit arms folded at the beginning of Scar. Like I was like, boats, not a big fan of boats.
I remember.
Not New Crobazon.
We were all like, please just wait. Just keep reading.
And then I read it and I got to chapter 2 and I was like, this is amazing.
But yeah. So I think that's about it. Jim, I know you have to probably leave in a few minutes. And sir, I must say, thank you so much for joining us. Because I know you're a very busy boy, and you got a lot of things you're doing with your time, and I appreciate
that's all good,
it a lot.
Man. I have talked the least about Bas-Lag out of all my favorite series. It's probably the one I've talked about the least.
And hopefully we can reconvene for the Scar. And Amanda, so nice to finally meet you.
You too.
And thank you for also coming on here about Perdido Street Station.
It's fun. This is my booktube return, my grand return.
Resurgence.
The resurgence.
We got you for R. Scott Baker, Purple Prince, and then the Bas-Lag.
Yolanda had me for Lightbringer.
Yes. That's right.
I have like a 2-hour project going right now.
Ooh.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I'm doing the girly pop recap of Dune.
Oh my god. Why didn't you tell me this?
I came up with it last night at 2 a.m. and then couldn't sleep for 2 hours thinking about it.
But yeah, we'll but yes, hopefully we'll reconvene sometime. I don't know
we
when.
needed to discuss the Scar. I
trying.
actually would
Yes.
love to reread it.
I'm kind of
too.
dreading that because like putting this together was not the it was fun, but at the same time I was like, oh man, when am I gonna get?
Well,
everything
I
together?
was dying, and then it's the holidays. It's just
It is the
tough.
holidays, so I'm glad we got
NaNoWriMo.
it.
NaNoWriMo, yeah.
Couldn't do anything in November.
And Amanda, you're moving, you said, so
I am.
I'm glad we got this together. To be honest,
Me
with
too.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're aiming
let's-
for the spring, probably.
I know.
was about
See
to
you guys
say-
in September.
I was about to say like March maybe, like around my birthday, maybe we could do it. Like, I don't know.
That
Sounds
might
good.
be it. Yeah.
But
And then
thank
it'll
you.
have been a year by since we read the Scar.
But yeah,
my
thank you
God,
guys
right.
for joining me talking about Bas-Lag. I can't wait to talk about more of it with you guys. So
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Thank you.
plug your stuff real quick, and then I'll let you guys go.
Fantasy Network. Check it out.
Shelf unstable. I make approximately 0.7 videos per year.
And they're all bangers.
I just like to go on other people's channels and talk about books. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't like going on my own.
You can find me at Some Okie Dude, where I talk about books and comics. And you can find me on Twitter or X or whatever they
Aren't
really
they-
call it now.
Aren't they on your channel right now?
You can find me right here.
Oh yeah,
Button
it's
down
probably on
below.
my channel. I did start a Blue Sky account. That was really interesting.
So like some crypto thing. Just kidding.
No, no.
Hey
but,
guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. And just be like
also
what we do
go
over
to-
here.
Go
Hit
to
subscribe.
Jimmy's Patreon. Like, give him money.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I do it. I recommend it.
Don't
Okay.
do it.
All right.
Best friends you can get are the ones you pay for.
No.
Enough stalling in colorful metaphors. Thank you too, sincerely, for coming on here. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to do the Scar and Iron Council because I also have thoughts on those things.
Hot
So.
takes.
Well, when Iron Council, we'll get to the hot takes, but you know. Also, we're using StreamYard. Yeah, it worked. Thank you guys.
I'm glad.
I don't know how to do anything else.
All right. Take care, everyone. Until next time.
You
Probably
too.
March. I don't know.
Nah. Do it sooner than that.